I'm a cinematographer from Hong Kong. Last year, I shot a movie with a mirrorless camera. Yes, a mirrorless camera. This Panasonic GH5s. In fact, there's no big deal, nor is there anything special. It is because some people have tried to shoot movies without using traditional movie cameras before. In 2015, an American movie called Tangerine was filmed with an iPhone. And in 2019, we also got a film shot with the Panasonic GH5 in Hong Kong. Why did I use this camera to make a movie? What happened is that in 2019, I took a film job. I am both the director and the director of photography of this movie. This movie is called Embrace. Although these mirrorless cameras can shoot very good quality videos, most people are mainly using them to shoot vlogs or by parents to record the daily life of their children. But then we take it seriously by using it to make a movie. Are we really so poor with the budget? To be honest, budget was one of the reasons. But in fact, if we wanted, we could still afford to use movie cameras. The situation was, one day we discussed the budget and found that we might have to readjust it. But the pie was just that big, so if there is a part to be increased, there must be another part to be reduced. Well, since I was also a DOP, the easiest part to be readjusted was of course the equipment and filming gear. Today, most movies are mainly filmed with the ARRI laser and then the RED cameras. In some independent productions, they may consider using the Canon's film series, the C300 or the C500 cameras. Or some other people will also use Sony's FS series to make movies. On paper, many cameras today are having very high quality and seems to qualify of movies making. I always want to try, so I took this opportunity, try to get a different camera to shoot a movie. At that moment, two cameras came into my mind. One was the Blackmagic's BMPCC 4K and the other was Panasonic's GH series. Here we must consider and seriously balance a very important point. It is that although we have reduced our budget and used relatively inexpensive cameras, we must keep the quality. We cannot say that because the budget has been reduced and then the quality was also being affected. Frankly, it would just waste your shooting resources. Then how can we know such inexpensive equipment is qualified to make movies? Sure, there are some standards that can help. The first criteria is the imaging method. There are about 5 imaging methods. The first one is RAW. As the name suggests, it means that the camera can shoot in RAW format. The Blackmagic BMPCC 4K can certainly meet this demand. The second is the direct readout of pixel to pixel. That is, the sensor resolution is consistent with the pixel output. In fact, except for RAW, all other imaging methods are encoded and compressed. The advantage of pixel to pixel is that it does not require further compression. And in this way, the workload of the machine can be reduced. Actually, except RAW and pixel to pixel, all other imaging methods we try to use the entire width of the sensor without cropping, but require more calculations and compression. Then it comes to the third method of oversampling. To put it simply, many mirrorless cameras today are using sensor with 24 million pixels or even more. And the width resolution has at least reached 6K. Assuming we only need 4K, then the 6K image has to be down converted. And here, oversampling is one of the converting methods. In theory, the image quality will be better and the noise will be relatively finer and less. But there are side effects. Due to the huge workload, the camera will get heated and even affect operation. The remaining two methods are light skipping and pixel binning. Compared to the previous, these two methods get worse results. Simply put, they extract or reduce certain information and finally affect the clarity and resolution of the image. Even from the same machine and same sensor, you will find that the moving images with either one of these two imaging methods will be more blurred than the still images. Back to the GH5s, it only gets a 10 million pixel sensor. Why is it so low? The reason is first, the bigger the size of each pixels means that the light sensitivity is improved. So its ability to shoot in low light is better. The second is, it can then use the much effective pixel-to-pixel imaging method, which is still enough to produce good moving images. The dynamic range is how many stops of exposure can a camera express from the brightest to the darkest area in reality. Of course, the more the better. And we can use the benchmark cameras for reference. For example, the ARRI Alexa can reach more than 14 stops, while the RED cameras are claimed to achieve more than 16 stops. The Blackmagic's official website says that the BMPCC 4K can achieve a dynamic range of 13 stops. It is assumed that if a camera can achieve a dynamic range of more than 10 stops, it is already very good. So once a camera hits 13 or 14 stops, for sure it is a very good performance. Some reviews said that the Panasonic GH5s get 10 stops of dynamic range in Red 709 gamma. And in Hyperlock, Cine or Vlog, it can even achieve a dynamic range of 14 stops. I think 14 stops may be a bit exaggerated. I summarized from various reviews and reached to an estimation that the Vlog L of this GH5s may get about a dynamic range of 12 stops. Sure, the more accurate the color reproductions, the better quality of the camera must be. But here we have to consider one more factor. That is, we can't just look at the performance under a single ISO or color temperature. The color reproductions of a good camera should be able to withstand different ISO and color temperatures, even in quite extreme settings. The BMPCC 4K can shoot RAW. In theory, there should be no problem. For the GH5s, many reviews found that the accuracy was very good, and it scored very high marks, even higher than those of more expensive cameras. This is what makes me give the GH5s extra points. By the way, the dynamic range or color reproductions of many mirrorless cameras are also very good. But why don't I take them into consideration? The main reason is that the color sampling of these cameras is very low. With the internal recording, most of them can only do 8-bit 420 color sampling. In fact, 8-bit 420 can barely cope with the Red 709 gamma, but does not satisfy the log gamma. If you want to shoot log, the most basic is to record with the 10-bit 422 color sampling. Of course, it is better to have internal 10-bit 422 video recording. Otherwise, you will have to add an external video recorder. But I think that's quite troublesome. In other words, if I don't choose a camera that can shoot RAW, at least I must choose a camera that can record 10-bit 422 internally. At that time, not many mirrorless cameras can do that, and the Panasonic GH series is one of the few that can do 10-bit 422 internal recording. Some people may ask if the 8-bit 420 or the Red 709 gamma are really unusable, or if you don't shoot RAW, is it a must to shoot in log gamma? The Red 709 gamma is not so bad, but how to image the Red 709 gamma is important. 8-bit 420 is not ideal because the amount of information is not rich enough. The output from the original sensor, after being processed by the log gamma, can indeed increase the dynamic range by about 2 stops. Don't underestimate these 2 stops. Although you will have a lot of resources when making movies, you still may not have fully control over the situation. Therefore, if you encounter a very high contrast scene, and if your camera can provide you a lock gamma, these extra 2 stops of dynamic range will definitely help. This means that if you don't shoot RAW, shooting with lock gamma can also give you a better dynamic range image. The problem is that if you use 8-bit 420 to shoot RAW, color banding will easily appear, especially in large areas of pure color, such as the sky. For these reasons, 8-bit 420 is not recommended for projects with high quality requirements. I try to control my films in just around 10 more minutes, or if it is too long, I'm afraid that there will be too much information. So I stop here today and will share again with you the rest information in part 2. Thank you very much for watching.